Hi guys, I'm Mariah from Mariah Flips Furniture, and in this episode we are going to be starting a really large order on my client's beautiful Broyhill bedroom set. My client inherited this bedroom set from a really special aunt of hers, and so she wants to keep the sentimental value that this set has, but also give it a modern look to match her style. A couple of the challenges that I see coming up for this set are going to be two of the drawer slides on the tallboy dresser are broken and will need to be replaced. My client's wanting the drawer fronts stained, and you never really know how the wood will take it until you actually do it. And then lastly, she's wanting the bases straightened out as well, so that will be a challenge too. So we're going to be going through a step-by-step tutorial to give this whole set a beautiful new look. So let's get started. A common misconception is that you first start off with cleaning the piece. However, you want to make sure to remove any hardware before doing that. So you want to remove any pulls, handles, knobs, or even emblems like this case, because there will be gunk underneath them that you want to make sure you completely clean off before sanding. That way you don't sand it into the wood. So I use my simple green cleaner and random spray bottles to apply my cleaner, and then I wipe it down completely. I then am removing the drawers because we're keeping the drawers natural wood and we're painting the base. So once it's all bare, I love to get started on the base first. For any surfaces that you are painting, you just need to scuff sand the piece. That means you need to roughen up the old finish so that your paint and primer will adhere so much better. I then wipe off any extra dust that the sanding left, and that helps me see any damage that I might need to fill in. After cleaning off all of the sanding dust, I noticed a couple of dings at the bottom of the base that needed to be filled in to give it a smooth finish. So I mixed my Bondo goop with the hardening goop that it comes with, and literally you have to move quickly with this. It'll dry within 3 to 5 minutes, and you don't want to waste any of your materials. So once you mix it, apply it as soon as you can, and then literally 3 to 5 minutes, it'll dry and be ready to sand for a smooth finish. Bondo is incredible and helps you really remove any sight of damage. And it's even really great for filling in old hardware holes to add new ones. When I move on to sanding, I want to talk about my Surf Prep sander. The Surf Prep sander is a sanding system that is phenomenal for not only sanding flat surfaces, but also for sanding curved surfaces. When you are sanding a curved surface, you want to make sure to avoid using your orbital sander or your mouse sander, because you might sand those curves flat, and that is the most tragic thing to see. So for this really tedious and spindled chair, I used my Surf Prep sander, and it saved me a ridiculous amount of time. Again, I recommend this for curved surfaces especially, but it also does flat surfaces, and it just saves the features of the entire piece. A more starter-friendly option, though, are these sander blocks. You can get them with kits with all different kinds of shapes and curves and bends to them, and they just attach right onto your sandpaper, and they give you a way better grip for your sandpaper and let you get in those grooves and also sand curved features so that you don't lose that shape. So again, these are sanding block kits, and I got mine off of Amazon, and the link will be in the caption. Now, when I was listing out challenges for this whole set, I did not at all expect this desktop to be as difficult as it was. It took me an hour and 40 minutes to get it scuff sanded. That was absurd. So let's move on from that. Now that my pieces are completely scuff sanded down, I want to make sure to clean them off again with a wet rag to remove any dust particles that the sanding left, just so that my paint and primer can adhere better. Now that the pieces are cleaned down, I know you guys miss my face so much. It's been like a full 3.5 minutes since you've seen it. So here comes, and I quote, the best transition ever. All 4 pieces are completely sanded down. They are scuff sanded, they are bondoed if they needed to be. That's then sanded down, cleaned off, and now they're ready for primer. And behind me is this really awesome box with how I'm going to be applying my primer. So Wagner actually sent me one of my dream supplies. They sent me a Flexio 3500 sprayer. And so we're going to go over the details of this sprayer, but it is phenomenal. I got to try the 5000 while at the flip off in Omaha, Nebraska, and the 3500 I have heard amazing things about. So I'm incredibly excited to get to put it all together and use it for my primer, and you guys will be able to see how great this product is and how well Wagner makes their products. Like, they aren't just messing around and popping out non-quality pieces. Their products are high quality, incredibly productive, and save a lot of time. So let's get into that, and honestly, I'm just so stoked. So this is the first time I got to use the 3500 with primer, and it was so great. The material came out really thick, which is perfect for primer, and it went on really smoothly and evenly too. The instructions say not to flex your wrist. You want to keep the sprayer the same distance from the piece the entire time. With this piece, I had to flex my wrist a little bit just to fit in the grooves, but it still went on really, really well. If your sprayer ever makes a little skip like that, just go over it one more time and it'll come out smoothly. Wagner also has incredible instruction manuals, and on all of their instructions they give charts for the exact flow, the exact airspeed, the exact settings you should have. And so for the primer, I did 10 material flow, wide air spray, and 8 for the air power. And as you can see, it even worked great for the chair. It worked great for the curves on the pieces. It was just really, really smooth applications. So I'm really happy with how the 3500 worked. And the best part is they sent me their dual kit. So I got the 3500 as well as the 2500, which is perfect for fine finish, which I will be sure to use for my paint. Now that all of my pieces are primed, let's take a minute to appreciate this setup, because it's actually more difficult than I thought with the wind. It took me way too long to put down these plastic mats, but here I act as She-Hulk and I just get stuff done. Girl boss. Girl boss. Just boss in general. Look at that. Oh. It is so hot out here. You can probably see. Oh gosh, no way you can even see. I'm like flushed. It is so hot out here. I'm gonna die. All for a custom order. Look at how committed she is. Wow, phenomenal. Now that it is all primed, you want to make sure to lightly sand between your primer and your paint to get it perfectly smooth. So I use my Surf Prep foam pads for this, just because it lightly sands it and gets all of the curves sanded as well. But you can use your sanding blocks, you can use normal sanding pads, and you want to aim for 320 grit sandpaper. Finally, all 4 pieces are completely primed. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm feeling awesome. So I get to start painting now, and my client picked out beautiful jet black, which is my favorite on furniture, especially mixed with a dark grain stain. Whew, I love it. So I'm gonna get started on that. So the difference between the Flexio 3500 and the 2500 is the 3500 is made to cover a large surface, and the 2500 is better for finer details. So for the first coat of paint, I'm using Wise Owl 1 Hour Enamel Jet Black, and the first coat went on so well with the fine detail one. I followed the instructions of the manual, and I got the exact finish that I was hoping for. I did run into a little complication with the second coat, so of course I'm going to be upfront and honest about that and go over that when I'm applying the second coat, and I'll tell you what I did that worked. So The first coat of paint is on the pieces. You can see them back there. And the baby is asleep. The husband's out of town. So I'm gonna have a late night sanding these drawers down and getting them to bare wood. So let's get right to that. Sanding down to bare wood is when you take a very low grit, which means 80, sometimes people do 60 to 120. I like to start with 120, and that's where you sand off everything that was originally on there. The original finish, stain, paint, whatever was on there, you're sanding it completely off. I used my Surf Prep sander, and I also used my sanding blocks to get in those grooves. The sanding block saved me so much time rather than bending sandpaper to sand those grooves. That's just really tedious, and it always ends up with my hands cramping. So to take a break from the drawers, I'm going to get back to painting. And can we appreciate the setup? It's butter, guys, compared to the first one. So here I'm being She-Hulk and figuring out how to bring all the stuff out on a dolly all by myself. Phenomenal. Businesswoman. Then you have to remember to lightly sand between your coats, and look at how fast I'm working. This is going to get the smoothest finish, and it's going to make sure any imperfections or flaws are sanded off. Here is where the issue happened. So I noticed that every time that I was doing my spray, there was always an uneven sheen, which means you could see these tiger stripes. So I lightly sanded between coats, and thank you Abby Askew from Flipped by Abby, and Lauren Thompson from Rags to Riches, and of course Wagner for giving me tips on how to remove those tiger stripes. With Wise Owl paint, because it is a thicker paint, I had to water it down by 5%, only 5%. And then I also had to lower my airspeed and raise my material flow. And this meant that my material flow was at almost 70%, and then my airspeed was at a 5 max. This helped me completely remove those tiger stripes, and it was so much better. It went on really thick, and it was just a beautiful finish, and the sheen was really even, and I was really happy with how it turned out. If you know me at all, leave in the comments what I would say this finish looks like. Let me show you my favorite trick for the very end. This is what I do at the very, very end to get that really smooth, like factory finish feel. So all you need is a printer piece of paper. My husband explained this trick to me, and I was like, you're crazy. Like, why would I rub a piece of paper from the printer on my furniture? But he was explaining that pieces of paper have like the craziest high grit. So if you rub them on, it's gonna give it a smooth finish without sanding anything. So I have noticed though, because it is still gritted, if you have it just balled up in a ball and then you scrape it on, you're gonna leave like little white marks. So just fold your paper like this, rub it along your furniture. I guarantee you, it sounds ridiculous, but it works like a charm. So definitely try it out. It's really cool. So shout out to Nate Howard for this silly little trick, because I use it every single time. And again, it's to get that factory feel finish where it's just smooth as blank. I know you know the blank. What's the blank? Comment the blank. What do I say? Next, we're going to be moving on to staining. And in my opinion, staining can be so intimidating. You just sanded it all down to bare wood, you put so much work into it, and you never really know if the stain will take properly or if it'll go on unevenly or blotchy. So these are the tips I have for getting the perfect finish. I always sand with 120 grit to get to its bare wood, and then I top that off with 220 grit. I then apply the first coat generously, and then I wipe off the excess after it dries for about 10 to 15 minutes. I then apply a second coat. I love to make sure the color is as rich as possible, so I do a second coat and make sure to wipe off the excess as well. After about 8 hours of drying, I then top coat with polyurethane or polyacrylic using a foam brush. I top coat at least 3 coats, lightly sanding with 320 grit in between each coat. And remember, all woods are different. This is maple, so it's a soft wood, so it takes the stain in different areas more than others, but this is how they turned out. My client absolutely loves it. Let's move on to straightening the base. I normally do this before painting, but with a little bit of confusion, This is going to be done after painting, so I'll show you how to fix that. We normally do the bases using a circular saw. However, for this time we're going to use just a jigsaw and some drills. Because the jigsaw can only go in one motion, you want to add some pre-drilled holes in the corners that you need. That way the jigsaw can saw right up and down, and then using the hole, you have enough room for the blade to go sideways. My husband did this because our blade is dull, so it uses a lot of grunt work. So he was super helpful, and he did the entire base on both the dresser and the desk. Now let's touch up that paint. So I always sand down wherever you made your cuts for the base because it is going to be a little rigidy. So I sanded it down, and I lightly sanded the paint on top so that it would all flush together. I lightly sanded with 320, and then I went in with my zebra brushes and my jet black paint, and I was able to make up all the touches that I was needed to do. I did 2 coats on the entire base of both the dresser and the desk to make sure everything was uniformed. I then removed all of the tape to cover the insides, and let's start fixing these drawer slides. I had to measure out where the new drawer slides would sit on the drawer, and we cut out the excess with our jigsaw. Then my husband helped do this like fingernail or toenail technique where he drilled straight down on the front of the drawer towards the front of the drawer, and then he drilled at an angle so that he could screw into the front of the drawer to secure the slide. Then he pre-drilled a hole at the back of the drawer to secure the back end of the drawer slide as well, and it was tight, guys. It was perfect. I then removed the drawer slide from the dresser itself, and we just had to screw them in from there. We are getting to the finishing touches, you guys. So I always make sure to wax all of my drawers using Howard's Wood Wax, or I tried Up Paint's furniture salve for the first time, and I really liked it. It was really subtle, but it still gave it that nice waxy new feeling. So I just got a rag and I applied the furniture salve into the insides of the drawers, the outsides, and on the new slides as well. This will help your drawers slide better, it'll help give it that new look and feeling, and it'll just freshen them up so that you don't have to put a lot of labor into these. I then placed the hardware on, and then I put all of the drawers back in, and all I had to do left was set them up for pictures. So guys, here is a reminder of the before. Again, it had that outdated finish, it had those curved bases, that really red, strong finish, and broken drawer slides as well. Overall, it just didn't meet my client's style, and it still had so much sentimental value. So here's the after. It is so beautiful how it all turned out. That natural wood contrast with the black is so stunning in my opinion, and my client absolutely loves them. It has way more of a modern look. It has the straight bases. It has that natural wood that's able to pop now, and it matches her style so much better. This set was so much fun to work on, and there were so many different things that I got to work through and learn, and the Surf Prep sander definitely helped with those detailed finishes, and the Flexio 3500 and 2500 helped get the smoothest finish. I could not be happier with how this all turned out, and this is only the first half of the set. And let's admire this chair too. Oh my goodness. I would not have taken this on if I didn't have the Surf Prep sander, but it turned out so beautifully. It was so smooth. I love it. Here's a reminder of what the curved bases looked like originally, and here they are straightened out. My client is super happy with them straighter. It gives just a more modern touch, and it definitely updates the entire set as a whole, and it makes it look like a whole entirely new set, but it's still the one she inherited from her aunt. So it is such an honor to be able to work on such a gorgeous set like this, and this is just the first half. And the second half is going to have so many of its own challenges because, as you can see, it's a lot more mismatched than the first half. So guys, that is a wrap for this large custom's first half. I think that it went so well. I think that the outcome was amazing. My client absolutely loves it. And if you found anything in this video helpful or exciting or interesting, make sure to subscribe because I have so much more planned for this channel, for my flipping journey. So definitely subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think. I appreciate all of your guys' support and love, and just, it's been so incredible to see how much Mariah Flips Furniture has grown in the last couple of months, and I cannot wait to see how much more it will grow. So definitely stick around, stay tuned. We're gonna have a great time, and I will see you next Friday, hopefully around 2 p.m. Bye guys.